say winning ain't everything. Well, we don't have them type conversations over here, man. Had that conversation with the losers. We trying to win at everything we do. Even in the loss, we don't see defeat. We see a lesson learned. Straight up. Look, I came into this world in 1978. The doc looked me in my face and knew I was something great. 45, 42 Prescott, that's where I'm from. Grew up in the slums around dope dealers and bums. As humble as I was, I adapted to my habitat. In my own lane though, far from where they crashing at. Dumb bar graduate, the game I'd have mastered it. Served in the Navy, look, y'all don't know the half of it. Pops passed in 01, moms passed last year. I know they up in heaven smiling down, crying mad tears, cause they son making it. No telling where I'm taking it. My city been cursed, but I feel that I'm breaking it. Coach that ranked high in 15 in one state. Seen the fork in the road and went straight. I know what I'm worth. I'm OG King Curt, Brooklyn Nets gaming crew legend. Let's work.
Hey, this is OG King Curt, and we're back with another episode of the OG 2 Cents podcast. This is the episode 3, the OG back in New York for the 2020 NBA 2K League draft. It was a fun week. I arrived in New York on Tuesday morning, early as usual. Typically, I fly out of Dayton, Ohio around 6 a.m. and arrive in New York somewhere around 8 o'clock or so. And this week was, the biggest week of the 2K League, the 2K League draft. Basically used, Tuesday, Wednesday to this draft prep. Anybody that's involved in the league knows that that's every day from the time the offseason starts all the way up until the actual draft. Me and YL just talk daily, text, just getting all the data that we can get on each player that we're looking at. And then just also communicate any information that, happens to circulate throughout the league. But, we did that on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday was rather unique. We took the train from Penn Station to Philly, and we visited, Jeff Terrell, and Steez happened to be in market at the time. And we basically was just going up to Philly to, on the league side of it, just to, see their gaming house, see how they live, and just, basically just talk 2K League. It was a fun time. Had lunch at B-Dubs. They reside in Sicklerville, New Jersey, which was pretty interesting, like 20 minutes outside of Philly. But just overall, it was a great time. And, really enjoyed our time in Philly. We also attended the game later on that evening. Philly played Brooklyn. It was a great game. Philly ended up winning in overtime. And then immediately after the game, we traveled back to New York. Probably got in around just a little bit around 2 a.m. And, for me, when I'm in New York, it's hard for me to sleep because I'm just fueled by the hustle and bustle and just always up ready to work. So I went to sleep probably somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock. I was back up at 5 a.m., ready to work. Friday, shuttles arrived, and we had a team meeting in the afternoon to get a lot of things out going into the draft. It was very, very productive meeting. Expressed some things to them. They expressed some things to us, and it was just good to be all of us being in a room at the same time, not dealing with each other through text chats and on Twitter and different things like that. After the team meeting, I had me and YL traveled to finish looking at apartments and housing for the players. Got that wrapped up, so that was pretty cool. Later that evening, I had a great opportunity to go hang out at the NBA headquarters with Black Frank White. Caught up and talked with BD a little bit. Daniel Harris, Lindsay, our fine staff that we have with the NBA 2K League, and me and Frank, we went over to an event that was going on. It was Decoy Games presents Game On, and sponsored by Unity. And Aaron Ashley Simon was the featured host for the event. But it was some amazing people in the building. Ray Graham, which is the technical director for Unity Technologies. Hip hop gamer, Hot 97 personality, heavy in the gaming community. He was in the building. Jay Watts, the co-founder of Coexist Gaming. She was a very phenomenal woman. Had time to talk with her for a minute. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to attending some events that she hosts. Also, Aziza Brown, the founder and CEO of Dynamic Focus. The Black Hawkage was a content creator. Just very sound mind. Gave out some great knowledge. Nars, who's the co-host for Cheddar's Esports and also a streamer and content creator. Khalid Jones, who is the co-owner of Echo Fox. I definitely enjoyed hearing everything that he had to share with us. Kevin Webb was a gaming reporter for the Business Insider. Very, very smart. Gave a lot of great insight into the gaming world. And it was just an overall great time. Basically, people sharing their knowledge and different things and different experiences that they've witnessed in the gaming space. And just it was just a big time for everybody to be in there, just supporting each other, and just sharing knowledge and sharing advice. And it just was a very, very good time, and I was just glad to be a part of it. Also, it was a violinist that it was just he I'd never really listened to the violin live, and it was phenomenal. And his name was Damian Escobar. Just a very talented artist. He gave a unique testimony about him attending the School of Juilliard at 9, and basically mastering the art of the violin by the age of 13. And he went on to become a millionaire by the age of 21. And by 22 he was homeless. And the one particular thing that I like about the story that he told, because I just felt like it resonated with the NBA 2K community, was the word that he used that made him go from being a millionaire to homeless, was basically ego. He achieved a lot of success early with his brothers and members of the band that he was in. And then it got to a point where he felt like he didn't need those people. His ego got pretty huge, and before you know it, he was homeless. And needless to say, he's back up. Excuse me. He's doing his thing. Plays great music, and I just say anybody, if you get a chance, just look him up. His name is Damian Escobar, and like I said, he's very talented. But it's a great event. A lot of different talent in there. As far as a content creator, It was numerous videographers. A lot of people, influencers, just all over the place. And it was held at um, the Microsoft store. Um, and it was just a great event. I was just glad to be a part of it. Leading until Saturday, it was the draft. Got up, uh, met YL at the Barclays Center. We had some last minute things that he wanted to do. He got up and he wanted to get some shoes and different things like that. So we went to Stadium Goods. I believe he purchased the Travis Scott Lowe's, the Lowe's ones. I'm not a sneakerhead, but I learned a lot from him. But yeah, he wanted to get some shoes to go with his fit. We went back to his place, got dressed. Basically, all the time and hours spent on our draft board and everything like that, we just put it to life when we returned back to the Barclays Center. And at that point, our situation was a little different this year, with the draft being held at Terminal 5, and there really wasn't any room on site. Well, not that we knew of, prior to have a war room at the venue. So I pretty much stayed at the Barclays Center with JP, Joshua Prush, and his son Gavin, and the videographer Anthony, and our graphic artist Laura, and we stayed at the Barclays Center, all day, up until we made our last pick, and then I got into an Uber and went over to the venue to meet YL and the rest of the guys that were on the team, and then the guys that we drafted. Our ninth pick, we chose Chalk, DF. I don't know how long he's going to go by that title, if whether he keeps it or not, but he definitely was number one on our radar. He plays the game at a high level. He he has some acclaim. Some people can look at it negative if they choose. He made some videos during the first season when he didn't make the draft pool, and I used that as an example where I called it growth. He was young, frustrated, upset. Any choice words you can throw in there when you work hard to do something and it doesn't work out the way you plan it. And basically, in those videos, he expressed just his overall opinion and feelings about him not making the league and how he felt he should have. And what he did the following seasons was he went back to the drawing board, and I had talked to him a few times. We pretty much talked at least once a month during that time frame, and I'm basically try to be a positive reinforcement for him. And he assured me that he had something up his sleeve, and he came back in 2K20 and he grinded for top rep and first legend on I believe on both consoles, if I'm not mistaken. Don't crucify me for that, but I think at least I know he was the first legend on Xbox. And with that, comes notoriety, a bigger fan base. He accrued a ton of subscribers on YouTube, followers on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and just overall added celebrity. Now, obviously the opposite that comes with that is what people like to say is haters and more critics, more people probably willing and wanting to see you fail than succeed. But I just like the fact that when I like to see resilience in people. When you don't everybody's happy when they're getting what they want. You have to look. You have to look at those people who how do they behave or act when they don't get what they want. Like that's the true testament of that person. Like who are they when they at their worst and when they're being challenged. And I just like the fact that how he went about things. If you find yourself constantly around people who don't want to give you room to grow, those are people who obviously never want to see you succeed. Because like I said, I'm 40, and if I slowly was judged today as I was when I was 21, then I probably wouldn't be where I'm at neither. And that goes for a lot of people. So, like I said, I want to just say testament to him is that just growth. In our second round, our second pick at 29, we selected Randall. He played with Rando and Wavy and Shuttles in the offseason. Relentless player, pretty quiet, mild-mannered. Different things that I've seen and recognized from a actual superior athlete in real life. Plays basketball at a high level, but it also translates over into the virtual world of NBA 2K. I had a chance to talk to him briefly after we drafted him. He was with his family in North Carolina, so I definitely look forward to him touching down and being with the team. And then to round it out at 50 is Potts. He's been along with the KMT crew for a while now, and he knows nothing but winning and being a team player and doing whatever it takes to win. And I think that's solely the type player you need. You need that type mentality and attitude from everybody, and he definitely brings that. He was ecstatic. I like the fact that during when he had drafted and he had a chance at his interview after the fact, he shouted out our new owner Josiah, and I thought that was unique. That obviously he did his homework and know who runs things at BSE Global, so that was pretty cool. The other aspect of the draft, and I'm not gonna go too deep into everything because then my first focus and my primary focus is Nets GC, and it's never to be about what other people are doing or what other teams are doing or whatever. But the biggest thing that I take from the drafts is that at least, and this is all my thoughts and my words and opinions on it, is that you go after who you want. You draft who you want. It's not about what other people think, the fans, critics, or anything. Like you go after who you want. And then saying that, I know a lot of people have a different opinion on this, but I don't believe in people falling or slipping or being snubbed. Because if everybody, I think what makes a good draft is if every team walks away from the draft and they're satisfied with the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 players that they drafted, it was a great draft. I mean, if every team is satisfied with who they picked, it was a great draft. And those, who left out, I mean, if this is truly what you want to do, then it's just more work to do. And I'm not into big about using the word fair or anything like that, but it's just more work to do. I've never, felt to the point that anybody owes me anything. I owe myself, if anything. Nobody owes me anything. I owe it to myself to be dedicated to what I do, and whether I'm successful or not, just be accountable and recognize things that I can do better. Well, first of all, recognize things that I'm not doing well, and the proper actions to fix them. But the other part is just to recognize the necessary of what I need to do to be successful. And at the point that we're at in the 2K league, that sometimes your success may not always equate to wins. When you speak on like being a manager in the 2K league, yes, we all want to win. Yes, we draft players to win, but also understanding that it's bigger than the game of 2K sometimes. Here I am. I'm drafting young adults, and I thought about that today after I congratulated Lav on being drafted by the Grizz, and one of the things he told me was that he came into this situation truly open-minded and just open, and that he had learned so much from me as a person to help better himself from this point forward. And to me, those are the type wins that nobody they don't show up on the stat sheet. They don't show up on a trophy that you hold up. They don't. Those are the results that you don't always see. But those are big wins. And I think we need to recognize different things like that, and not always harping on, because out of 23 teams, it's only going to be one team to win a championship. It's only going to be one. So if you're not that one team holding up the trophy at the end of the year, then it's other ways to get wins. And I think, and I'm definitely not saying putting winning on the backseat, but I'm just saying count every win. Don't harp on every loss, but count your wins. And as far as the topic of the ladies that were in the draft that didn't get selected, I know it's tough. I had a great opportunity to work the women's developmental camp, and one of the things that I mentioned during the camp was basically, we have what we have. I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm just saying we have what we have. And basically in the off season, we have amateur tournament circuits that are important for amateurs to play in. And if you choose not to play in those events, then you're limiting your exposure to, every GM and coach that watches those particular streams in those events. And that's something I mentioned also in the first episode, in the state of Pro-Am, is that you have to play in these events. Park and rec is not going to cut it. Like, it's not. Like, park and rec is the grind to get your player up, but you have to get in that Pro-Am arena. And as my partner Homie say, line it up. Like, you have to. I'm not saying that that's guaranteed, and I will never say nothing is a guarantee. But I will say it can improve your chances. Like I said, we now have a realistic system of Pro-Am. Before, Pro-Am was just a name. We didn't have pros playing, because basically the whole scene of Pro-Am is where you have current pro players or ex-pro players with amateur players that watches those events. And that's why it's important that you play in those events. So you have to do it. And like I know it's tough. It's this past draft, 68 spots, 200 plus players. Somebody's going to get left out. Somebody's going to get left out. It's the inevitable. I know it's easier said than done. You can't let the moment, your emotions during that moment, take you to somewhere that you'll regret. Whether, like I said, whether it be on social media or even in public right at that moment. I think we just have to we have to use those moments to grow. And I can't stress it enough. It's easier said than done. Easier said than done. Just moving forward is that you have to understand, like from my angle, being a general manager, if you can play the game, that's great. Like that's great. But if I can't trust you for 6 months away from the game, that's why like everything you do is vital, because we only get a certain amount of information to make the best assessment that we can make from who you are as a gamer to who you are as a person. And I think a lot of times in the 2K community, what lacks is we're judging the players just as gamers. We're not judging them as people. And understanding the fact that when we're not playing the game, like all GMs and coaches are responsible for players in their market area that's signed to them. And it's not just about what you do playing the game. It's also what you do when you're not playing the game. And that's deeper than what most, I think, try to imagine. Every time I hear people talk about the 2K League and teams and players, it's always about whether they're good or whether they're bad. But nobody never thinks about, what can happen beyond just losing in the 2K League. Players have to, you want to find players that's going to make sure that they understand the magnitude of every situation, whether we're playing games or whether we're not playing games. And it's crucial to all of these organizations that are investing into the NBA 2K League to know that they're going to have players who take that serious. So I definitely think that we need to start putting some of the things that are more important to the forefront. You're not always judging everything by just talent and whether they can play the game. I think also beyond proving that you can play the game, you should be showing different ways that can help people see that you're a responsible and mature person that can handle the situation at hand. Where you go from being basically an amateur player that's not getting paid to now you become a pro player that's getting paid. For most, you're moving into a new area, new market area, not responsible for rent, not responsible for utilities or anything like that. So, I think it's a pretty good trade-off. It's just about knowing and having the right people for your organization. And pretty much that is a simple standard that I think should exist for all teams. But, you know, now we getting to the point where we're in a sensitive state. I mean, the league will start in just a little over a month, and it'll soon to be it's our post draft is already here. I know some players are going to take some time off. Some players may never play at the pro am level again, like that, or some may wait and keep that same energy until next, until 2K21. But I think what I want players to realize is like we see like everybody's looking. Like we see and know who didn't get drafted this go around. I mean, also the other part that I failed to mention about getting snubbed or anything like that is like every team in a draft is not looking for the same thing. They're not looking for the same positions. They don't need the same positions. So it's not difficult for a player to get passed up because they play a certain position, and the teams that were drafting at that time didn't need it, or didn't want it. So I'm always, I always feel different and think different about those situations. You go get who you want and you be satisfied with that at the end of the day. Period, point blank. And I think that's how most the teams that draft went about it. This kind of piggybacking off of what I was saying about bigger wins than just winning at the game is that this is a funny story to me, and probably maybe a funny story to most, but Mama Chalk on Twitter, I thought for the longest that it was a troll account. Don't ask me why, but I know a lot of people, troll on Twitter, for whatever reason. So I didn't even, know that it was a real account for a while. But one of the beauties of like after the draft is that, excuse me, that Mama Chalk, she sent me a nice message, and I was truly grateful for it because it's not often that people get to impact other people's lives for the better. And I feel like when you do have that chance, you take full advantage of it. Like you don't abuse it. You don't take it for granted. I mean, you recognize the position that you're in, and you deal with it as such. So I think with her taking time out to send me a message and how she felt about her son coming to the organization that I'm largely responsible for was just it was truly an honor and humbling, and I can't wait to meet her and just show her my gratitude for taking time out to express her thoughts on what she felt about the situation that her son was being presented with. So that was a defining moment. Like I said, the same when I talked to Live. That I always told the guys that the way the league is set up is that it's not guaranteed we're going to be together the following year. So with that being said, like you have to honor it, and what I look forward to is just building those relationships, because like I tell people, like when you're involved with something or that involves a lot of people, and whatever it is that you're involved in, it can disappear or it can fade away after years. But the one thing that can always remain is the foundation of the relationships that of the people that you deal with, and that to me has always been important. Like I've always been about relationship building, and and that's why I like where me and YL our relationship has come come from, like, and the tremendous amount of respect that I have for him and we have for each other. I think allows us to work to the best of our ability. Kind of capping everything off. It's like it's after drafts, everybody looks at their roster. They're feeling good. People are pulling out their draft grades and their comments about who you should have took or who you took, and why you should have did this and why you should have did that. Let's keep some things in perspective. Neither champion in the first two seasons was selected by anybody. Nobody would have said or predicted anything about Knicks gaming winning the first 2K League title, and nobody seen T-Wolves gaming, coming from out of their slump to ultimately going on ahead and winning, season 2 NBA 2K League championship. So I say that to say, like, it's all about whoever has the 6 guys that want to gel together and throw all the me out the window and just sacrificing for the greater good of the team. I think that's truly what it comes down to winning the championship. It's like everybody has to strip themselves of just always thinking about themselves. Truly, just it has to be about the we. Has to. As much as we have as much as we have these debates about good players, bad players, and everything like that, I still said it before and I'll say it again. There's only 12 NBA 2K League champions. There's only 12. So if you're not one of those 12, you got a lot of work to do. And I don't discredit myself from that either. I always want to say, going into the second season, the first season I think we had a talented team. I think we were talented enough to do the necessary, but we fell short. And this season I think we've made some necessary changes that can get us over the hump. And now, even saying that, it's just all about making it happen. I don't care. I don't care what you think or how you feel. It's about what shows and proves when the lights come on. You can be a scrimmage warrior and all of that, but if you're not ready when the lights come on, it doesn't even matter. And I think that's gonna be critical for everybody. And we'll see. I think we have 23 competitive teams. Everybody's gonna be battling. Our scheduling structure is different this season. I can't wait to see what everybody thinks about that. capping off the show, I really want to give a big shout out to just two people that are important to what I'm trying to do with the OG 2 Cents podcast. Is Strider Visuals is the video editor for the OG 2 Cents podcast, and he's just been a tremendous addition to the promotion, and just everything that he adds to the show. And also Dave the 2K Zone is the sound engineer for the OG 2 Cents podcast. And things are slowly coming together. I'll be looking for a graphic artist as well. And if any graphic artist wants to be a part of the OG 2 Cents show, you can easily email at OG2Cents at gmail.com and submit your work and tell me how interested you are in becoming a part of the show. And I'll definitely be taking a look at all candidates that want to be a part of the show. And it's the OG 2 Cents podcast at gmail.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this episode. Next week, episode 4, it'll include some inserts from the trip in Philly with Jeff Terrell, the White Kite. And we sat down and did some Q&A. So I think just had a casual conversation. I think it's going to be something that, everybody want to hear. And it's basically going to be a new dynamic of what I want to bring to the show. I'm, other than flying solo. But I definitely, over the spring and summer, I'm going to be bringing in, my players, YL, different people in the 2K League, sometimes players, non-players. So it's just going to be an overall fun experience. Just stay tuned. And I appreciate all the support, all the followers, everybody that's downloading each and every episode. I truly appreciate it. And just stay tuned. OG out.